I'm Matthew,
I'm Marty.
I'm Carlos.
and we are the Heroes 3. Welcome to Heroes 3, the bi-weekly podcast where three friends explore the best, worst, and everything in between in the world of Asian cinema. And this week we are bouncing back to the modern day, the very, very modern day, with the 2026 Chinese film Blades of the Guardians, directed by Yuen Woo-ping. I'm not sure if we've covered this guy before. No. Directed by Yuen Woo-ping, the absolutely legendary action choreographer and director we've covered several times. And a bunch of mainland Chinese actors that I didn't know, and also Jet Li, who's in a smaller role. But yeah, this is a cool one. This is another Carlos pick, and based on a ongoing comic series, or manhua, if you're being fancy, like Chinese manga. Although I found out when looking up, the term manhua actually came first, and then manga is like the Japanese version of that word.
Love that.
So that's fun little fun fact there.
Mm-hmm.
But I did read the first 50 chapters of that because that's what this movie takes place over. And I'll have lots to say about that later. But first, I want to hear from Carlos about why you picked this one.
Yeah, let's do this little dance. We're gonna go back and forth in time a little bit, and a chance for us to kind of enjoy a new Yuen Woo-ping film. And I was really excited to see this movie. Once it was announced, this was a situation where I was like, who's involved? Okay, I don't need to see anything. I don't need to know anything. It's like, I'll just wait and see it when I can. And thankfully, Welgo got licensed for it and released it in theaters. I do have a little bit of a story with that, because it's like
we've got a little beef where we all live, but
I applaud Welgo's efforts to getting these films out into theaters, of course. But I think they're I don't know where they're based out of, but I think that they're a little bit out of touch with where to put these. And I every time a Welgo theatrical release shows up, for me personally in the Midwest, I will have to drive to Chicago. Like, that's my only option, which, push come to shove and something that I really wanted to see, I will do it.
For sure.
But there's actually kind of a fun little kind of change in that. So I noticed that either the fans were clamoring for this film more, or Welgo understood that maybe more people were interested. And they actually went on social media hey, where do you guys...
We got our hopes up for 24 hours or something.
Yeah. Where do you guys want to see this? Do you want... So everybody's chiming in. And I'm not usually kind of fan where it's I want it to be made for me. I want this to be directly to me. So I actually chimed in. I think it was on a Facebook post, and I was like, bring this to more cities in the Midwest. Wisconsin doesn't get any showings. That would be awesome. Mm-hmm. And not more than a couple days later, they announced an expanded release for the film. And I was like, yes. And then when I looked, it was Madison, which is further away from me than Chicago.
Yeah.
And I was like, they probably just looked at a map and they were like, where's the capital of Wisconsin? Okay, here. This is what we'll do, which is great. And again, I'm thankful that more people got to see it in theaters, but not me. But that's just how things work sometimes.
Yeah, that's how it goes.
And I'm fine with it. And, as soon as it showed up on digital, which was, I forget, maybe a month or two after, maybe a little while longer. Yeah. I enjoyed it the first day it was released on digital. So very happy for that. And it's getting a physical release, but I don't think that's coming out until October. Yeah, I'll be getting that too. Well, I guess, that kind of spoils whether I like the film or not. But yeah,
I mean, what we can say is the movie's gotten a pretty warm reception, at least in the West, since coming out, which
seems like
is always exciting to see. And kind of like Matthew was alluding to in the beginning, it doesn't just, for the three of us, track back to the beginning of the podcast, where the very first film we covered was Yuen Woo-ping's directorial debut. But I mean, just taking out your abacus and doing the math with the year 2026, trying to, you know, move backwards in time all the way to 1978. I don't know. It's pretty incredible that we get new material from some of our living legends here. And a not insignificant part of this movie is kind of focused around honoring the elder statesmen and women of Hong Kong cinema, alongside, like Matthew was saying, some, you know, new kind of bright lights of mainland China, including a very sort of, at least new to cinema, bright light. And we can get into some of the interesting details around the lead actress of this film, who was not initially involved in the production at all. So we got some, kind of interesting behind the scenes stories too. But yeah, this is, I would say for anyone who happens to be listening to us, I think we're still shocked that is the case sometimes. But this has got to be a must watch for you this year, and luckily very widely available digitally as of right now. And looking forward to seeing what might be included on the physical release this fall.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, absolutely. The scope and the scale of this movie, I just want to see a lot of behind the scenes footage of this.
Yes. Oh man. That was kind of what I was thinking the whole time, was like, this is one of the first like recent Chinese films I've seen where it wasn't super obvious every place that they use CG.
Right.
Which doesn't happen very often. So it was cool seeing that and being like, oh wow, yeah, like there's some stuff where, like, you know, I really don't know like where the set ends and you know, visual effects begin. So
yeah, that's such a good point. I would say if you stayed kind of like mercifully out of the loop of status quo mainland Chinese cinema over the last like 15 years, you might not be able to appreciate, I think, the kind of direction of travel that this movie represents. And it's funny because, Carlos, I think you had shared a somewhat recent Yuen Woo-ping interview. Yeah, I think either over the summer or this past spring. And it was interesting because during that interview, Yuen Woo-ping seemed to, I don't know, have kind of been reflecting on the use of the sort of liberal use of CG in cinema. And I remember being kind of heartened by that because, you know, while we haven't covered, you know, kind of his last few directorial efforts, I would say, you know, prior to Master Z, which I thought was a really, really strong film, but we get into kind of the, you know, Sword of Destiny and Faces of Dundra era, we do have a lot of that very liberal, very kind of rubbery, gummy kind of use of CG, and, you know, some of the attributes of digital cameras that maybe we've talked about quite a bit. And at least for me, I really saw Blades of the Guardians as really making some concerted efforts to kind of capture some kind of classic cinema techniques. There is plenty of use of CG, and actually a lot of it I thought was pretty successful.
I agree.
Do want to give kind of warning off the bat for maybe the, like, I don't know, 0.1% of people that also get really kind of affected by this. It still has this kind of shutter, digital stutter problem that I'm going to try not to just talk about all the time with a lot of modern cinema. Tiny little note, I won't derail things too much, but I actually really enjoyed the newest Spider-Man film, and shutter speed is pretty gorgeous on that thing, and there's also some great choreography. So yeah, I think there's hope for us yet, but just fair warning, Blades of the Guardians, still is going to have some of that motion and shutter speed quality that we were talking about in The Furious, etc. And I'll try to just like not bring it up again for the rest of the episode, and then you guys, I don't know, you should have some kind of like cattle prod, just like zap me or whatever. But I think we're gonna hopefully kind of bounce around a little bit, sort of free and easy on today's episode. And then I know we also want to hear what Matthew sort of dug up in reading the original comic.
Yeah, agreed. And I also wanted to mention, as we're talking about this is a wuxia film. I mean, it's a fictional situation, but many of these, they're kind of putting you in a point in history. But these types of films have been pretty wildly successful in China. I mean, going back forever, but in this modern era of Chinese cinema, you're seeing a lot of these creation of the gods and stuff, and even Journey to the West type stuff, where I think there's like this idea where if there's like kind of a celestial kind of look to things, like they've got this traditional garb, but to me, everything always ends up looking super clean and super sterile. And I have to say, one of the things besides the kind of tasteful use of computer effects, I'd say the costuming and the way that everybody, the set dressing, everything looks very real and lived in to me.
Totally. The production design across the board is really... Yeah, almost feels like the next generation after the Choi Hark of the 90s kind of setting the tone.
Yeah.
It feels like we had this kind of major blip, like you were just describing, Carlos, the kind of surreal, perfectly sheeny kind of thing. Anyways, cutting you off, sorry.
No, it's cool. And I'd also say that it was kind of cool seeing this. And then seeing something like the Odyssey, where with the Odyssey, I felt like everything, looked so real, and there's so much effort to kind of bring the realism out in something. And there's moments in this movie that I feel are very comparable to what you see in a big, gigantic budget film like the Odyssey, and I also almost in a weird way Mad Max Fury Road energy to some of the stuff.
Yeah, totally. Lots of chases in the desert.
Yeah, it's
huge sandstorm.
Yeah, and incorporating that into scenes is really cool. So really cool for me to see the layers of appreciation for cinema in something like this. And we've got Yuen Woo-ping here directing, but I also noticed that I guess, I don't know, not that I'm an expert, but we're used to watching this man work, in action. And I did notice that, the camera doesn't move the way that I expect it to move in something that he would be behind. And I wonder if this is because there's a different action director. This is Ku Huan Chu that's handling action, who, I was talking with Marty a little bit before we recorded. He's been here and he's done it for a long time, but
he's been part of the Yuen Woo-ping and Yuen Brothers crew for a long time. I think going back to Fist of Legend, but he's also someone that came over stateside for Matrix films, and Kill Bill, also worked on Crouching Tiger. And then I think this does tie into something we've brought up a lot, which is and I think this was relevant when we were discussing The Furious as well. For a lot of these heavy hitting action directors that also direct, at a certain point it became very common practice for them to not also assume action director credit, as to whether that means they don't assume action director duties. That's not really the case. And even some of the behind the scenes features or footage and clips that we have of this, this strikes me as a kind of very very kind of typical operation for kind of a Yuen Woo-ping production of the last couple of decades. But I'm glad that there's a chance for us to hopefully give Ku Huan Chu his flowers, because he's been an MVP for a very long time in this production. And I hear, yes, cinematography in general I thought was kind of a highlight of this movie.
Yeah,
And
I agree.
I think at least, to my taste, I thought there were some examples of, some of the modern camera rigs, which also can sometimes kind of work in tandem with the kind of perfectly sheeny modern production design and, kind of choppy digital cameras. And a lot of times that can add up to something that I'm, not a great fan of. But here, I don't know. I thought there was a lot of intention kind of throughout the movie, and really kind of punchy style, more than I was expecting. I like that kind of Fury Road comparison, because even down to the color grade, I feel like the movie's kind of taking a swing. And I also I felt a kind of similar sort of thing about Master Z. But I think visually Blades is a even more kind of successful project. But I mean, I think it has sort of one foot in one world and one foot in another, and I think that's true for the cast, like we've already mentioned, and then also just for movie making. You are definitely going to get a lot of flashes of just some classic Hong Kong action. And then you're also getting, flavors that I think are much more contemporary. And I'm really curious where the movie lands for people. I've got to say, I'm really happy with it overall, and might have even enjoyed it more than I was expecting. But
cool.
I'm curious to kind of hear where people are landing.
Yeah, I did overall. I really did like the movie. It's funny. I do feel like I kind of noticed the Shutter thing more now. I don't know if that's necessarily your fault, Marty.
Oh
but
man, I'm sorry if it is.
No. I think it's more. It just kind of put words to something that I have noticed in other things. Where I don't know. Where it's like I know these guys are doing cool action choreography. I kind of just want to see it. Which is a shame, because normally that's what we love about Yuen Woo-ping's choreography
totally.
in movies. But I did really like it. Like, all the costumes are great. I love like the way that Chinese deserts look in film is just so different from how they do like the steppe and stuff. It's just so much different from like the American Southwest is. So it's always cool to see on film. The whole film just feels very dusty, which is nice. It has a really good flavor to it. And it has the right level of wuxia stuff for me, where like it's not,
right.
It's like there is stuff still has weight to it, even if people are doing, unrealistic things, which that's the kind of thing I love, where it's not just everything super floaty and, very clearly moving on a wire or whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
The thing that I noticed, and I'll pass it right back to you, but the thing that I noticed that's a bit different about this, and I'm pretty sure it's probably because it's sourced from, a creator's work, is that this type of wuxia isn't so much about like the martial arts. It's more about where people are from, their alignments, and there's like more of this drama of like taking over a place, and then this kind of rebellion. You don't get this kind of like secret technique kind of thing.
Yeah,
and that I love too. But I do like that this has its own kind of, I guess, its own lane of wuxia that it's working in. But you still get the Jianghu, like these guys are operating on their own kind of outlaw rules.
Right.
That is really fun. But yeah, Matthew, I'd love to hear more about your experience with the with the book.
Yeah. So I read through the first 50. I read through 51 chapters because I wanted to see what if there was anything about where it was going. But the movie is like almost exactly the first 50 chapters. And the movie itself it's certainly not 1-to-1 using using panels as storyboards like you see in some movies, which isn't, again, that's not a good or a bad thing. It's just the choice they did. But a lot of the major beats are there. I'd say the biggest difference is those two the bounty hunter couple that we see in the movie.
Are they're not dominant?
They are not in the comic whatsoever.
Wow.
You're talking about like the antagonists, like DT.
Yeah, like the kind of primary antagonists of
Wow.
it, DT and the
That's
one-eyed
cool.
lady. I can't remember her name. Now I don't that they very well may appear later in the comic, and they just kind of jumped them back, but they don't appear in the first 50 chapters at all.
Wow, that's so
Because-
interesting. Because I sort of assume that they kind of like leapt right off of those pages.
Yeah.
But now that you
No,
mention
it totally
it's like,
feels like
you
it,
could
yeah.
picture them kind of like, making a wrong turn off of the set of Iron Monkey or something.
Sure, and I mean, I feel like, in this film, their position is so driven by the main character and his relationship with the kid that I wonder how that is handled in the book, because I mean, that's basically like the culmination of you finding out about the truth of the kid's relationship with him and how that affects him being basically like a guardian, an outlaw, or kind of bounty hunter, which is wow, that's cool.
So-
I love
So again,
stuff like
they
that.
very well may appear, but they don't appear in the 50 chapters that the thing's based on.
Sure, and you said
No,
that it's like ongoing, so like how many
It is
chapters
ongoing,
are
yeah.
there now?
I think there's 120, I think, something
Whoa.
like that.
Cool.
Let me check, because that's another funny thing. If you Google Blades of the Guardians comic, the first result is not the Wikipedia page. It is a pirate website where you can read it.
Nice.
Wow.
Which is hilarious. 115, or at least according to this. So, which that's really funny. And it's the ones I read were all fan translated, which is always a mixed bag. Lots of translator notes. Which is, I don't know, it's kind of charming in its own way. But there is a legit English release of it that I think is on the 3rd volume and is going to be released in the 4th volume later this year.
Oh, so
okay.
there's an official release.
There is an official one. You can buy on Amazon an official release.
Whoa, that's awesome. Can I ask you also,
Yes,
like, how
please.
do you feel about the artwork? Because I haven't really looked at much of the artwork.
So I do like the artwork. The big thing for me is that it's very grimy. That's the big difference, I think, between the movie and the comic. Is the comic's very dark. Like, obviously there's lots of violence in the movie and blood and stuff, but like there is so much dismemberment, so many heads getting chopped off, so much like heads getting like squished in detail and stuff. Like it's very, very gruesome in the comic. And it's like a little spookier too, like Ji Long, the like rebellion leader guy, with the painted face. He's kind of silly in the movie, but he is like spooky in the comic. Like he's like he still is kind of kind of like prissy, like you see him in the movie, but he's definitely has a lot more of like kind of intimidating kind of aura to him, and that's kind of emblematic of everything. And also, it's a lot more fantastical. Like there's like beasts, like monster kind of things mixed in, and also people have what I can only describe as One Piece proportions to them. So like some people are just like 10 feet tall.
Gotcha.
Ani, the bodyguard for Aya in the movie, she's like this hulking thing. Like I honestly wouldn't have. They're not drawn like a woman. They're just kind of drawn like this brick of a person. And like they do say that she's a lady at points, but it's still like just this hulking mass of meat. But in this, the first, not the first, because the first handful of chapters is kind of following our like very beginning of the movie thing with like this like runaway fugitive that's like trying to run away from his past, and Dalma's there to collect his bounty. That's like kind of like it's like the mini arc, I guess, to introduce you. But the main arc is following the Hei Yi Xuan, the shitty boyfriend.
Yep.
And he's like 7 feet tall.
Cool.
But that's the big things. And of course the like sexy lady that they run into in the movie, she's in it too, and she of course has the biggest boobs you've ever seen. Because it's comic, I guess. And I don't know, my overall takeaway from it is that it is good. I'm not sure if I'm going to keep reading it. But it's interesting, and it's just cool seeing like a very You can definitely tell it's very inspired by classic manga and comics, but it has kind of its own kind of approach, mixing like this, Janku wuxia stuff,
Yeah.
with kind of the Japanese like following an arc where there's a specific bad guy, then it goes back and forth with them until they finally defeat them. So,
Dude, nice. And yeah, it makes the film seem like maybe a little bit more of a fresh kind of original adaptation than I was guessing. That's
yeah. Again, all the major beats are there, and there's a couple of lines lifted straight from the comic.
Oh, cool.
But it does kind of show it in a cool way. But yeah, I'll bring those up as we talk about them in the movie.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, because I mean, knowing that it's an adapted work, there were moments in the film where you see a character and they get like a title card for them, and I was like, oh,
yeah, it was
well,
totally like a classic Hong Kong movie in some ways.
Yeah. You
But
just
yeah,
wonder if
nice
there's
to
maybe
see that updated with like kind of modern kind of flashy calligraphy and everything. It's pretty cool.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, so I should mention that too. So since you mentioned that with the title cards, I was watching the Welgo release, so I wondered if like the overseas version, because like the Welgo has like English font whenever somebody shows up, and
it does.
Yeah.
The version I watched did not.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I assumed that would be the case. So
it's in like this like beautiful calligraphy in Chinese that I can't read.
But also I would say that I kind of like the English font that they chose for those title cards in the Western.
Yeah,
release.
I thought it was really I don't know, great production design and title design. Yeah, across the board, I was pretty impressed.
Before we dive in, Marty, I was gonna ask you, how did you feel about the score? Because I thought that it was pretty effective in parts, and I'm not familiar with the composer at all. I think his name is William Wu.
I was trying to look into to some of their work, and I wasn't able to track down much information. Yeah, I thought this was a fairly solid score, and honestly, it got me kind of reflecting on, our beloved golden age, whatever span of years that might be, for so many of the Hong Kong films that we love, and what we've touched on in the past and even in panels is that the original score side of the movie making doesn't necessarily pull the same amount of weight as the other departments. And I don't know. I think I was taking this score in that light, sort of, and I was just appreciating, honestly, it might sound weird, but kind of the legitimacy of it, even. And I thought it was pretty effective and sort of just smart enough. But at least just listening to kind of like our home theater setup here, I've got to say, I was pretty impressed with just the sound mix overall. Score, sound effects, everything. I think it's a pretty nice package sonically.
Cool.
Yeah, why don't we dive into the movie itself? But first, let's take a look at the Blu-ray back or whatever.
It's coming out on DVD as well, I think. Yeah.
Oh, awesome. Win's guide, the guardian Dao Ma, across the deserts of the 5 tribes. Alongside the young Zhao Qi, he seeks out his next bounty. His past chases him, but the quest he sets on can change the future. With the help of some rambunctious and uneasy allies, he must protect the mysterious and enigmatic Zhi Long, leader of the Flower Rebellion, all while trying to survive the armies that hunt them down. From the comics to the screen, Yuen Woo-ping brings the stories of Zhang Zezhu with Blades of the Guardians. So this is a wuxia story, so we're not going to try to get bogged too down in the details like you definitely could. So I'll try to cover just the basics with the kind of look at the characters. So the Blades of the Guardians, which actually, that's a quick aside. I'm guessing whoever made the English Wikipedia page for it, it was based on like fan translations, because the name of that page is Biao Ren, which is the original Chinese name for it, not Blades of the Guardians. But it is officially released in English as the Blades of the Guardians.
Right.
So if you look it up, you'll see Biao Ren appear.
Yeah, and so like the official
Biao Ren, I guess, because it's spelled like Yuen Bu. So
yeah, it's Blades of the Guardians Wind Rises in the Desert is like the complete title.
Gotcha. It's a good name.
Yeah, it's cool.
So the overall plot of it is that we're following a kind of traveling swordsman bounty hunter named Dao Ma, who has a little boy with him named Xiao Qi, who is very cute. His little art in the comic is super cute because he's like teeny tiny compared to everyone else. But they are kind of traveling, just trying to make ends meet, and we kind of learn more about them as it goes on. It starts off with him kind of tracking down this one double-headed serpent, I think is what he's called.
Yeah.
Which kind of shows us just the level of power that he's dealing with.
With the help of the little boy, which is
with the help of the little boy,
cool.
of course. But that kind of turns the law against him, and so he has to go on the run. He runs into an old friend named Lao Mo, who is the village leader in a neighboring village, who has a daughter or maybe a granddaughter, or I think it is his daughter. He just looks really old.
Yeah.
Named Aya, and
So after he it's like he's staying at this Moja village. It's his safe haven. When he returns there after the skirmish, he realizes that he's wanted by everybody, basically.
Yeah.
And
that's right. He's like, they say he's the most wanted man in China.
Yeah. So
in the 5 kingdoms, I think, or something like that.
Yeah. Mo, the chief of the village, basically puts him to task and says, "Hey, I helped you survive, so I need you to do a job for me." So he wants him to escort a man to Chang'an, which, as the story unfolds, you find out is tied to his origins. And this man isn't just anybody. He's actually like a leader of this rebellion. In the version that I saw, it's called the Flower Rebellion. And this man's name is Jishi Lang. And he decides reluctantly to take this job for his friend, and it sets him on an adventure that puts them in the way of danger throughout the rest of the movie. And this Jishi Lang is he's this masked character that is a bit enigmatic, but also like not what you'd expect, a rebellion leader to be. And him alongside
some slight comic relief, even
we get
from this character.
And I like that. It was really fun to me. But this Mo, his daughter, she's hoping to see this great city of Chang'an, and she tags along with her kind of her guard, Ani. And in the version that I watched, her name is Ayuya. And
I said Ayuya because that's how they say it in the movie.
Oh yeah,
Ayuya is like how it's spelled out, but every time they say Ayuya.
Cool.
So
yeah, and
that's why I said it like that.
No, it's good. I wasn't correcting, but yeah, cool. Thank you.
I know.
And actually, like as we get through there's one person that will come up that takes us way back to our pronunciation origins on the podcast.
Oh man, yeah, absolutely.
But going back to the plot, as they're on their journey, of course, they're being attacked by bandits, and you're finding out that there's kind of like this bigger plot to take over like the western regions of China. There are these 5 clans that all kind of have an alliance, but this like kind of great emperor has plans to kind of take everybody over and unify. Also, you encounter another, I don't know, like a bounty hunter kind of unsteady alliance character who goes by Jade-Faced Ghost. And he's kind of like this kind of cool rival character that I really enjoy seeing in like manga. And with him, there's his prisoner. His bounty is like this promiscuous woman of the night that also adds a fun flavor to their adventure. And
Oh, yeah, she's hilarious.
yeah, as this story progresses, you see that the shadows of Daoma, our main character, the shadows of the past are chasing after him. There's another guardian. His name is Ting, and he has alongside a one-eyed partner who has like Wolverine claws. She's really cool.
Yeah, she's great.
And they're chasing after him. So slowly but surely, all of these paths converge, and it turns into this really crazy, factioned wuxia situation where you've got them fighting to achieve their goal, and then also these other people that are trying to take down these 5 kingdoms, and then there's this treacherous Huajian that you mentioned that is like a man that was betrothed to Ayuya, but they ended up kind of canceling their marriage, but it turns into a point of contention, and he feels like he needs to become a great man, and like many villains, this kind of puts him on a path of bloody rampage, and it all culminates in a huge battle, and in the end our heroes triumph, not without some hardships and some sacrifice.
God, that was so beautifully put, guys.
That's good.
Yeah, and it's good stuff. I really enjoyed it, and this movie as it brings us in. The one thing I really like to mention, and I don't know if I said it on recordings, but any of these new mainland films, you can almost start like a drinking game for how many companies' logos are at the beginning of the movie. So like with this
there are 6 production pre-rolls.
Yeah.
6. And then the best part is right after that, it shows like the presented by companies and the co-presented by.
And it just floods the screen.
There's 8 presented bys and 30 co-presented by companies. 30.
Yeah.
And at least those are like, very tastefully kind of laid out on your screen.
Yeah.
But oh my gosh, it's a lot. And I think kind of an illustration of just what it takes to get a movie like this on its feet in the modern age. And I think it's possible that the way we might be used to kind of talking about present day mainland Chinese production doesn't do justice to how difficult it still can be to finance such a movie. For good or for ill, there's quite a lot of wuxia productions that end up making it kind of all the way, but especially something like this that has really serious choreography and production value ambitions. It's not an easy prospect, and I mean, even for that alone, I think it's to be celebrated, kind of along the lines of some of what we were talking about with The Furious, where we just this is not something that we get every day. Also, just want to call out the lead of our film, Wu Jing, Jackie Wu, as some folks might have known him. And, I think I want to say we've only really kind of alluded to Wu Jing throughout the years. And I've got to say, this was one of the most impressive kind of aging into his identity kind of acting experiences that I've had in a while. I thought he was just amazing in this part. And
he's so good.
And not the Wu Jing that I'm used to, and I mean that in a good way. I've always liked him. I think he's really fine on-screen martial artist, and a kind of nice homecoming with Yuen Woo-ping, who kind of cast him in his first film, this sort of spiritual sequel to Tai Chi Master, and they did a TV series together, and then he very quickly did a movie with Lau Garlong, and then he was a very important part of SPL, which is, I think, where we maybe last spoke about him. But I think he's really settling into the age of this character so well. And gosh, you really believe that this guy has seen some serious stuff. And I don't know, he wears the kind of weathering so well. And I don't know, he luckily gets to go up against some pretty formidable on-screen martial artists. And luckily we haven't totally buried the lead, but are kind of cold open, depending on where you want to place the markers, does kind of culminate with him going up against Jet Li himself, which, I mean, it's, another reason to kind of put this in the time capsule. But in addition to Jet Li, some of the other kind of legends that folks that listen to the podcast might be familiar with, we've got some folks that go almost all the way back. Kara Hui, especially, Shaw Brothers legend, who we probably last spoke about with maybe Legendary Weapons of China or Martial Club.
Oh, My Young Auntie, probably.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Probably My Young Auntie. Yeah. Also, Master Z himself makes a nice return in that opening sequence. We also have what I know sometimes people in the West call the other Tony Leung, which is maybe not, maybe not the most fitting or respectful kind of little handle, but Tony Leung Ka-fai, who I'm trying to think the last time we touched on, we
maybe
might not have intersected it with him that much.
I don't know if we brought it up, but he was in She Shoots Straight. I believe that she played Joyce's husband, if I remember right.
Yeah. But yeah, he's terrific as the old friend and kind of like lord of the village and father that we spoke about, who does not get the kind of respect from the would-be suitor to his daughter that you'd like to see.
He does not.
Yeah. And then also, Nicholas Tse, who huge star in Asia, and some nice on-screen moments from him here. And we can save some of there's some fun cameos like at the kind of mid-credits and post-credits that we can we can get into. Mm-hmm. But really, really great seeing some of these faces, and also I think ends up being kind of touching when the character cards flash on screen. Nice kind of update to a tradition that goes all the way back.
Yeah, and speaking of tradition, we'll jump through these major scenes pretty lightly, but the first major action sequence is in a inn. We've got our Dalma showing up looking for his bounty, and Xiaoqi is so cute. He's just holding up a wanted poster next to the guy that the drawing looks like.
Yeah, it's good.
Really fun. And,
great shot composition and all this stuff. Mm-hmm. It's really, you don't get that kind of just like safe coverage thing. It's like some pretty punchy, kind of comic booky, camera compositions throughout the movie.
Yeah. So they show up and, they're like, hey, I know you're worth this much, but if you give me triple that, I'll let you go. And of course, a fight breaks out, and we get to see some exciting action. And this innkeeper, he tries to kind of keep a low profile, but you also know that Dalma is looking for another bounty, a man named Double-Headed Snake that you mentioned earlier. And this is our Max Shang here. And slowly but surely, you see the truth revealed. And there's a interesting little conflict with the family where him trying to survive and not make a big scene is making his son feel like he's a loser. And the heavies show up after the initial bounty, and those guys are under the orders of Chang, who is Jet Li. And there's an exchange between Dalma and Lord Chang he's saying to him hey, I know who you are, basically, and I know that I have strong archers, but they need to be trained in the sword, and I want to recruit you. And he kind of shares this kind of jeweled sword that he got from I think he says from Turkey or something, and it looks cool. Mm-hmm. And there's a really great moment where when they introduce each other, he tosses the sword, and Jet Li catches it in the sheath.
Yeah, in the sheath. Yeah,
it's really awesome. It looks like something
great
out
set
of
too.
Yeah, actually, even the built sets, I'd say the production design behind it all is just really classy. The lighting is always really nice and warm in these shots too. There's maybe like one day for night shot, like at the beginning, after the sequence. But
Yeah, when
otherwise,
they're riding in the desert.
yeah, if it's at night, it's at night. If it's during the day, it's during the day. Everything looks really, really awesome. But yeah, he goes back to the village, and Dalmont also is just kind of like trying to mind his own business. You can tell when they enter this town, you see like people hanging from the rafters. Like, so this is a village of like vagrants and bounty hunters. So Chang's men, they show up to kind of take over the inn because our innkeeper owes them money, and then push comes to shove, and you see that this is the double-headed snake, and he's got like a two short sword style, and it's cool to see him do some fighting before Jet Li shows up, and then once Jet Li shows up, things get really heated, and Dalma enters this fight as well, and we get some very dynamic camera work,
some 2-on-1
choreography, where we have
Yeah.
these two fighting against Jet Li, and it's just such a great choice to have Jet Li, basically returning to action after something like 10 years plus probably, and seeing him used in this way, it just always makes me think of what we say, how Yuen Woo-ping just so great at making people look great, and you get that here. It's this perfect intro to this world in this film, and yeah, you mentioned it. This is 50 chapters of comic, and you get a ton of different characters, and you're in a 2-hour film, and lots of things happening. I think you're pretty much bought in after this first segment, and sadly Max Zhang makes this ultimate sacrifice, and he reveals his true strengths to his family before he passes, and Dalma, they don't really spend a lot of time in mourning. They escape the town, and as they're making their way away from this village, I mentioned Chang's men are proficient with the bow and arrow, and they're tossing every arrow at them, and it's just in the nick of time that we see our female lead, Ayuya. And I think this is a great time to mention our actress. Her name's Chen.
Oh man,
Chen Li Jun, and the camera loves her.
Completely.
She's so charismatic.
Star power galore, I think.
Totally. Yeah.
she's
No, she
just
starts
great.
off, and she has a great arc because like she starts off very like wondrous and like I want to see what's out there in the world and all that stuff, and just gets dragged through the mud through the course of the movie, but still remains like strong and murders lots of dudes as the movie goes on.
Yeah, and she has a great costume. It's this, at once it's like a tribal look, but it's also very Chinese traditional look, but also almost like a Middle Eastern energy to her costume
a little
as
bit.
well. She looks awesome, and
which that's actually in the comic they play with it a little more, that
just more like a Mongolian kind of.
It's specifically like Zoroastrian. That's what that's what they're going for with the people from that town, and like because I only know that because the translator note specifically says this is like a traditional Zoroastrian prayer. I was like, thanks.
Wow, that's
thanks for saying that, translator. I appreciate it. So that Middle Eastern, like Persian kind of thing is kind of right on.
Yeah, her alongside of her troupe of, I'm pretty sure they're all women in the sequence. I
think so. Yeah,
they are able to cover. Yeah, they're all archers as well. They're able to cover Dalma and Xiaoqi so they can escape. And yeah, that's when we're taking to the village with Chief Mo, and we get our precedent for the rest of the movie. And these characters,
some stunning vistas of this village. And I think some instances of some really successful CG set extensions and everything. Really, I mean, there are some beautiful stretches of this movie. But yeah, speaking of our lead actress, we'd kind of alluded to it, but she was actually a replacement for the original actor that was cast, who then got embroiled into this controversy. I don't know about you guys, but you read up on this controversy and you keep waiting for the there, and it's like, huh? What?
Like, oh,
what's the problem?
I think that's what did it. 'Cause
it was like
she falsified, like, not falsified, but like she didn't get like super high test scores to get into a school.
But she got into school, yeah.
But she got into the school anyway, and
It's crazy, but yeah, you have to wonder if the movie gods were kind of conspiring here, because I think Chen Li-jun is kind of a revelation, honestly, and pretty new to screen acting. So she's a Yue opera actress, and I think this is a case where that kind of theater background, I don't know. I feel like you are seeing it show up here, but some of the stereotypes, whatever the theater tradition, are that as you move to kind of camera acting, it can sometimes be a difficult transition, because work in the theater requires usually something a little bit bigger than what the camera can handle. And gosh, she just is so suited to screen acting, and she just acquits herself so well. And honestly, I think kind of bucks some of the trends, or maybe even some of the stereotypes that some of us in the West might have around a lot of the kind of young talent in mainland China. I mean, it's like, this isn't a case of, Instagram face or something. And also just, I think, just very natural in the part, extremely likable. Like you said, Carlos, camera really loves her. But there's something more going on, and her performance and Wu Jing's performance, it's something really, really special here that I honestly was just not expecting. And then you read about the actual circumstances that she's only in the movie because of really elaborate reshoots. I don't know, man. Try to spot the seams. I couldn't.
Yeah.
So it's either got to be a case of some of the most elaborate reshoots you could imagine, where just entire sequences are redone, or we're seeing some of that, Hong Kong crafty chutzpah, where it's like, just where your shot ended, just what you have to pick up. And I don't know. I'm guessing we're all kind of leaning more towards the latter. And yeah, I'm curious for both of you. Did you know about this going into your first watch of the movie?
Mm-mm.
And
no,
if so, were you catching anything?
No. I was kind of this is probably a bad habit, but I was kind of like reading up in it kind of while I was watching the movie. And so I was like, 40 minutes into the movie, and I saw that, and I really was like, I don't 100% know when there would have been different cuts. And which kind of makes me feel like did they just completely reshoot like most of the movie? Which, like, I mean, it's possible. They spent a lot of money on this movie, so
yeah, I don't know.
And maybe that's 10 of those production companies.
Nice,
good call.
And it's also worth noting that Shin Lee-jun is like my age. She's like in her mid 30s. She's not like, this 22-year-old like beauty queen or whatever like we see in a lot of our films, which is nice.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, for sure.
I'll push us forward a bit. These guys are off on their way now and avoiding trouble. They do like barely make it through a checkpoint. There's she says that Ayuya says that there's kind of been some wheels greased to get them through, and that does kind of blow up in their face a bit though when another guard kind of pushes towards Jishilang. And
it is kind of a hard, like, just a lot of like all in the mouth.
But what you see is that there are people that are following him, and this is kind of the only real scene where you kind of get the sense of how powerful his leadership can be.
Yeah.
He's kind of
Yeah.
like I don't know, like it's almost like a hippie vibe to his
Totally.
rebellion.
Very much so. Yeah.
I was told like it's like the Flower Rebellion, and it's funny because it's all about like it is talking about like peace among the people
Yeah.
while they're also like stabbing people for him.
Yeah, nice.
It's,
Yeah.
but yeah, it is kind of
My kind of
hippie-ish.
piece. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Peace film, Yuen Woo-ping.
Oh yeah,
dude.
that's right.
Oh yeah,
There
I
you go.
can't believe we didn't mention. There's
Yeah.
like a kind of. I don't think I'd seen it before. I don't think it was on Faces of.
Yeah, a new
But yeah,
like
a
logo.
new Peace Films like CG logo.
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
almost cried, man.
It's pretty great.
Yeah.
All the way back to Buddha's fist.
Yep.
Dang.
So they do escape, but as they're escaping, more and more people are starting to chase them, and these different factions are converging. We do get a shot back at the inn where we are introduced to Ting.
Yeah.
And the son now sees Dalma as like this hero, and he recognizes the similarities between him and Ting when this guy shows up, but it's very much not the case. And he kind of appeals to Ting and mentions Dalma as a hero, and Ting's like, yeah, if I see that guy, he's dead.
Yeah.
And the kid's like, uh-oh. As they cut back to the lobby in the inn, all of these soldiers have been killed by our little Wolverine, our one-eyed Wolverine.
So back on the road, Zhi Long is kind of tired of riding horses and walking. So he says like I deserve to have a wagon, and they happen to find kind of a wagon nearby. So they open it up, and that's where we get to see our kind of other rival bounty hunter. He's called Shu sometimes, but he's also called Jade Face or
Jade Face
Killer or
Ghost.
something like Jade Face
Yeah,
Ghost. There
Jade
you go.
Face Ghost.
And he's carrying a bounty as well, and they kind of have a brief kind of back and forth, because we now know that Zhi Long is now the most wanted person in their world. It's not Dao Ma anymore. So they have a kind of uneasy alliance, and it's a very funny shot of them just kind of all crammed in the back.
It's really tiny,
just kind of staring each other down. And yeah, that is a classic anime trope of like the two rivals, like as they
And this
start off hating
man
each
of
other.
mystery.
Yeah, he looks
yeah.
awesome too. He's got almost
He
like
does.
this lavender hair, and he's got a straight like a Chinese sword, and like a one blue eye and kind of a scarred face. But you still kind of get this like almost like a beautiful look to him. He's like kind of like
I was about to say he's also very attractive guy.
Yeah. Even
Yushi is the actor.
Yeah, even Joanna noticed him while I was watching the movie. He's really good, and I think he was in one of those like creations of the gods films. But young upstart, pretty face for the camera, but also like kind of a cool like a threat for our little crew. This uneasy alliance that kind of evolves as the movie progresses. We also cut back to Chief Mo kind of trying to make sure his village survives, and we're introduced to this Hei clan, and Hei Xuan is the young man that was originally to be married to Ao Yuya. And there's some smiles, but you get the sense that there's like a knife,
something brooding,
hiding behind his back. And these clans, they meet up, and they're also speaking to somebody that represents like the emperor, and this is the man that wants to basically take over, and they're using Zhi Lang as like this excuse. So like they want to weed him out, and they understand that maybe one of these clans is harboring him, or maybe invested in helping him get to where he needs to go. And you're seeing these cracks start to form.
I also want to call out just overall the pace and the edit of the film. I think, pretty strong. A very kind of familiar approach. The way we kind of exit this scene, knowing that, that things are dangerous, but good kind of propulsion. I think throughout. I would say, by this point of the movie, if you're on board with these characters, you're in for the ride. I don't think you're gonna fall out.
Yeah, and they sprinkle in these action sequences every now and then. Their journey leads them to another instance where they end up in these like valleys, and then like they get surrounded by like 300 guys, and they have to take them all out. But it leads to some really great action moments, and we see Shu, this jade-faced ghost, kind of make his move on their side this time, and that's when he reveals his name. And you get all these other characters that, like, I don't know, Matthew, maybe from reading it, they maybe get more time to be developed, but in here they usually end up being like grunts.
A few of them get a little bit extra, but not, honestly, not that much more. The big thing is just that, especially Hei Xuan get a lot more, I guess, page time, not screen time.
Yeah, sure.
Than in the movie. There are flashbacks in this movie a little bit, but there's a lot of flashbacks and like dream sequences, fantasy sequences in the comic as well, that aren't in the movie quite as much.
Oh, cool.
Gotcha.
Yeah, because like this one, they kind of just drop you into the situation with Dalma and Xiaoqi. They're already together, and then those flashbacks pretty much tell you, like, that develops on how they met and what their thing is. That how they handle it in the comics as well?
So yeah, they do meet in the similar way with like the wagon and stuff, but a lot of this is a common thing in manga too, where it'll be like a chapter where it's introduced the two characters, and then the next chapter is like backstory with like the black space around the panel, so it's a flashback and all that.
Right.
There's a few of those, but they do meet and like kind of unite pretty quickly in the comic too. I think the writer wanted to kind of get them together because they knew it'd be
gotcha.
Good.
About the sort of flashback sequences that we do get in the film. Gosh, I don't know. I thought it was some of Yuen Woo-ping's most kind of mature filmmaking. There's some really kind of reserved choices, and then I just love the overall look of it. A kind of nice update to, it just kind of blue or green or red filter or something. Really nice look, and a lot of like labor and production design that gets sort of thrown away, and in a way that didn't really remind me of kind of the heyday of Hong Kong action cinema in a good way. I don't know. I think there some really surprising directorial touches here.
So as we're pushing through about the halfway point in the film, there's kind of a peak here, and you get there's a scene where you see Shu, our jade-faced ghost, kind of turn on his travelers, and where you understand that he realizes that he's got like the two most wanted people, and if he can turn them in, he'll be like the best guardian. So his motivation kind of in this film is basically to kind of be like a guardian, which they use the term guardian in the release that I watched, but it's kind of like your bounty hunter basically, because later in the film Dalma explains like his life, and he's basically like, I do what I want. If I need money, I can grab somebody. If I need to sleep, I have a place to sleep. I don't have to listen to anybody. So he's kind of like an outlaw / bounty hunter, but that's pretty easily handled. They don't spend too much time with it, but you get a really cool kind of a set piece where they're fighting in this desert that is seeping with oil, and they kind of play with fire effects, and there's some I would say pretty well handled like digital fire effects like on the swords, and then real fire effects too surrounding them. But besides that, the real strong kind of peak in the middle of the movie is when the crew ends up in this conflict with Hei Xuan and his, like, by now he's kind of got the alliance of these other like tribes, and there's a big moment where you see Ayuya get put through it bad. He comes to her saying like, here, we were supposed to be married, but I bring you a gift, and
he brings you a wedding gift, and she opens up the box,
old man's head,
and it's her father's head inside of it.
It's rough.
Yeah, that's And that's like obviously, it's plenty gross in the movie, but it's really gross in the comic.
Oh, wow.
Yep. I would say that the prop head that they use, they hold on some close shots, and it looks great.
Yeah, yeah, not bad.
It's really good.
Yeah, honestly, I kind of wonder if it's just like it is just the guy's head. They just like
Maybe
did a good
some-
job with doing like a replacement on it.
Yeah, could be.
But that leads to probably the kind of the big set piece of the movie, which is this huge sandstorm where they go on this huge fight in the middle of, which leads to a super badass line from Ayuya where like these guys are chasing after her and she says like, "This isn't the storm, I'm the storm."
Oh my god,
So awesome.
It's so good.
Come on.
Yeah.
And I love in the comic she has a similar line. And I love the translator had a note that was like, "Oh man, this line gave me goosebumps." I'm like,
Oh, that's so cute.
yes, no, I know, man, I know.
Yeah, that's cool.
Email me about it later.
Yeah,
Put
yeah.
it in my PDF.
Yeah, join our Discord channel.
That's really funny. But yeah, I would say like the cinematics of this sequence is really ratcheted up. You really feel the scale of everything and how all these characters' motivations are really reaching this kind of peak, because as they're like chased by these different tribes, they're kind of followed alongside by this sandstorm, and then as they're making their escape, they see that this is Ting and his kind of side, like fellow guardian, that are like coming after them, so they have to make the hard decision to enter the sandstorm. And then this gives us like what you're saying here, where Ayuya is like in such a way that she's really kind of pushed to be ready to sacrifice herself for what's happened, and she breaks away from the group and heads back to kill as many people as she can. And also Ting is fighting against Daoma. Like finally they kind of encounter each other, and you see his weapons. He's got like these two swords that are like almost like giant,
like screws,
like they're like drills
down.
Yeah. And
it's very cool.
They're fighting in the middle of this sandstorm, and actually I love how the sandstorm, the force of the wind is kind of informing their choreography, and it's weird to say that the sandstorm makes it seem more realistic for a
it does,
wuxia
because like they really are flying around, like you'll see in like like a Crouch Tiger, Hidden Dragon or whatever.
But it's sort of motivated.
Yeah, and they're having to anchor themselves with their swords.
I was going to say the very wuxia thing of stabbing your sword in the ground to hold yourself steady.
Yeah, really cool. Really effective, really dramatic. Just pretty awesome. But yeah, at the end of this scene, you almost feel like everybody's been kind of blown apart now. And thankfully, though, you're reunited with Zhaoqi and Daoma. They don't have to be.
Yeah.
I was like worried. I was like, oh, that's gonna be the rest of the movie.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. And then just like, oh no, I found him. He's fine.
Yep.
Which they play up. It's funny that most things in the movie are kind of compressed versions of the comic. But this one's actually a little longer. It's literally like 2 panels where he's searching for Xiaomi. I don't think it's this different page where he finds him.
Amazing. Yeah, there are a couple of things that we breezed past that I think are worth mentioning. Ani, the her like kind of guardian partner, they return to her village, and this is where we see Karahui, and then this like really nice little cameo, and you get some character development there. I wanted to mention the ocarina. He's like,
that was really
he has
cool.
like a ocarina on his necklace, and I thought it was kind of funny.
Yeah, they have a nice scene by the river. Yeah,
you see this moment where it's daytime, and then the next scene where he's playing it, it's nighttime. I was like, hey, wait a second.
That might be a reshoot cut there.
Yeah, nice. But yeah, you do get a really nice moment between Ayuya and Daoma, because, like I said, he explains his life, and he explains kind of like the motivation for like what's truly important, because she's really focused on getting to the big city, and he kind of checks her. He's like, hey, you got to understand how important you are to your father. Like all of his major decisions in his life have been for your benefit, and they showcase that a little bit. It's pretty nice.
And I don't know, I think this is kind of a nice little example of the underlying values of the movie, which I think would play, very well to like a present day Chinese audience. But yeah, they don't, I wouldn't say they reek of, I don't know, anything propagandistic or, like it's following some kind of prescribed scaffold or something. It really feels like it kind of comes very naturally out of these situations. And
you get like these cartoonish villains too, like Xuan, who we've mentioned now, is really positioning himself as like a true villain. He heads back to that village, Moja village, and he's burning it down and taking it over. And he says that he's fated to be king, and in that sequence with the sandstorm, he basically kind of repositions everybody else against Dalma and Ayuya. He like kind of lies, after he has shown his hand with the severed head of Chief Mo. He lies to the other clans and says that they are the ones responsible for the death that they encountered. And you see all these poor people now. They're just at the mercy of him and his men, and he's willing to kill anybody that stands in his way without a thought.
Yeah. He sets a tree on fire that stays on fire for the next like 30 minutes of the movie.
Yeah. It's setting the scene for the finale.
It's a very good, so I'd say it's a very good, kind of becomes a fighting stage scene.
Yeah, absolutely.
Or a fighting game stage, is what I was trying to say.
The other thing I was going to ask you about is like kind of I guess what would be like our true villain, this Pei Shiju, who is like basically the guy that they say at the beginning of the movie is trying to take over these clans. They do show him for a moment at the beginning of like what is basically the finale, and he kind of seems like not charming, but
totally
almost like a Confucius, like kind of wise man.
Yeah.
Is that something that comes across in the comics?
So he's mentioned, and actually literally like the last chapter, like I think chapter 50 is him kind of like talking about his plans and stuff. But he also then kind of goes on to talk about how the jade face ghost is like one of the things that scares him the most. So it doesn't go, at least what I read didn't dive into him too much.
Yeah, it's interesting because not exactly what I'd expect from like a villain pulling the strings.
Totally. It's funny. There's like I think that it's like there's a tone probably overall to how we're talking about the movie, which I could imagine might feel kind of surprising if you're listening to us like go through it, which is like, wait, it sounds like these guys really like this. Like but I don't know about you guys, but for me it's like I do really like this movie, but I watched it kind of ready for the other shoe to drop the whole time, sort of. And even for instance, like the sandstorm sequence, like, I agree. It's like, oh, this is a really great sequence, but you're kind of waiting for the CGI to cross the line. And even kind of in the finale and a lot of these depictions. So, there is maybe kind of an interesting context that is probably worth mentioning as we're talking about all of this, which is like, reckoning with our existing relationship to mainland wuxia cinema as of right now and mainland movie making. And I would say it was almost an experience of like scene by scene, sequence by sequence. It's like, oh wow, I'm really pleasantly relieved with how this was done. Like, I'm actually into this actor. But I don't know about you guys, like, I'm not sure why I stayed in that kind of posture all the way through to the end. And then as the credits roll, I'm like, yes, I agree. Like stamp green this movie, But anyways, just to kind of bring that into it, because I do wonder how it's maybe kind of coming across if you're just sort of listening. But that also might be an experience that ends up just kind of happening for you involuntarily if you also kind of are coming at it from a similar place to us. But anyways, just kind of noticing that.
I think it really does have to do with how cohesive the world that we're seeing is. And I think that for me lies with the performances and the production design. I think, it was, I don't know, maybe because it's an adapted work, they had more time to focus on the rest of it because they've already kind of got everything laid out and where they need to go plot wise. But I don't know. It really works for me. Pulling us back into the movie though, we're setting this finale. Our town's on fire, and we have a moment where Daoma is basically letting go of his group. Like, hey, I've got to go back to rescue Ayuya because she's now been captured by Xuan. And he makes a decision, and he's ready to leave Xiaoqi. And actually, Zhixilang kind of appeals to him. He kind of makes a case for him being a part of this equation. So he, along with Daoma, go back to the village, and there's a bit of a standoff. And before that, you also had a moment where Ani came to rescue her, and she's beaten pretty badly.
Yeah.
And she has her final moments with Daoma in the middle of this standoff.
That little bit of action before she gets taken down is really fantastic though.
It's really
kind
good,
of a highlight.
Yeah, really good. And there's like, the kind of heavy that you see in a movie like of this scale, where there's this kind of either faceless or wordless villain that kind of just stands in the background waiting to do some crazy stuff. And you see there's this heavy armored soldier called I think Arahant is his name, and he gets a handful of lines, but he like no sells any attacks that come to him.
He's in the comic a lot more.
Oh, cool. His armor looks amazing.
His armor's very cool.
Yeah. But there's a really fun little fake out here when the standoff kind of gets serious. You see that Zhixilang, who, I don't know if we've mentioned it, but has like almost like this traditional like theater mask
Right.
throughout the movie, is revealed to not actually be him. It's actually Shu, our jade-faced ghost, that smartly joined Daoma for this finale.
And that actually doesn't happen in the comic. It's just Shu the whole time.
Oh, that's
going
really
into town.
smart.
Yeah,
I like that.
Yeah. So that's a fun little change.
Using an already established idea of a character and having it be a kind of clever device in a film.
Yeah,
that's
totally.
Pretty nice. I like
you can
that.
kind of hear the audience cheering in the theater. Hopefully, it's great.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Oh yeah, totally. It's a real cheer moment when he like you see him like whipping around the sword, and at first like, oh wow, I didn't know Zhixilang had moves like that.
Mm-hmm.
And then he takes the mask off, and you're like, oh yeah.
Yeah, and even that's a really cool visual of that half of his face being painted.
Yeah.
With his hair kind of messy. That looks really cool for Shu. But yeah, they're fighting this army. And then that Arahant shows up, and it's like, not only is it him, but it's his men who also have this like heavy armor and these shields. They're really tough opponents, but ultimately their service is to pay Shiju, the true kind of guy pulling the strings, and he kind of can see the future. He's like he has a nephew that's kind of like the boots on the ground messenger, and he's telling him about what's happening in this village, and he's kind of like, yeah, we'll just let this happen for a bit. And you're like, what? But you kind of get the sense that he kind of sees the bigger picture.
Right.
And he gets a message to Arahant to kind of fall back. And this is where all of the kind of chess pieces that Xuan has been relying on to kind of become this king fall apart. Right. And all his soldiers now turn on him, and he's on the run. And you think that, okay, this is kind of where the movie's going to start to end, but we also have who I now know is not a factor in the comics, Ting, and this kind of history kind of creeping back into the mix, and that's kind of the true finale of what we see in the movie.
Yeah, totally.
And
this final sort of flashback, is really, really fantastic. Where we get kind of, we kind of sort of see how this faction, how this regiment really ended up parting, and it's dramatic and kind of complicated.
Yeah, what is it called? Like the left valiant
It's like the
cavalry.
valiant left cavalry, and there's the valiant right cavalry, and
Yeah. So that's the squad that Dalma was originally in, and he had to leave that behind. And as the flashbacks develop, you find out that it's because of Xiao Qi, and what you see is that Dalma's sister, that's her child,
Yeah.
and this is a family line that was kind of put to be eliminated, and as a last favor to his sister, he takes the child who ultimately could become some point of rule. So
Right.
with Ting, you actually see this moment where he pleads with him, saying like, "Hey, you gotta let me go," and he actually does. But what ends up happening is that saving grace was actually kind of like a nail in the coffin for this
Right.
troop, and they were
They're
all put to
sentenced
death.
Yeah.
Yep. So now he holds the burden of kind of
yeah.
saving the face of this troop and bringing them back to glory by getting rid of Dalma. So that positions him in this life or death battle for this finale. Damn, I was a little hurried, like getting ready for this episode.
Dude,
but
you got
all
it.
these pieces are like in my head
yeah,
still.
you got
Great.
it.
Appreciate
And yeah,
that.
I've got to say,
It's pretty
all of
awesome.
Nicholas's acting here is, so dang solid. And
Yeah, he's great.
again, an instance where this is not a one-dimensional character, and you really can kind of read the pain. He's like, he feels kind of cursed to basically have to carry this out, or the prospect of having to carry this out. And I think the reveal in the flashback that he stood behind, Dalma's
surprising.
exit, is really kind of, that almost is sort of the twist of the movie in some ways.
Yeah, and besides their battle, you've also got, I think her name was Ji Kui, the Wolverine clawed one-eyed guardian. She's fighting Shu, and that's pretty cool. I actually wish that was a longer fight because both of them are more interesting visually and like style wise. If you see Wu Jing and Nicholas say fighting each other, they kind of look like player 1 and player 2 of the same character.
Yeah.
But they do a cool thing where Dalma has like this twin hammers to kind of fight against his like drill swords. They're not used like drills, but the form factor is kind of like a drill. And they use the environment really well. I really like them kind of climbing up onto this kind of treacherous bridge for their fight.
And it's a very signature Yuen Woo-ping finale where we're in flames. It's interesting to kind of get this updated version that, like you said, does ultimately rely on CG fire, but there's plenty of real pyrotechnics in the mix, and ultimately I think just some beautiful visuals, some great little slow motion inserts too that are like extremely sharp and effective.
Yep. So this fight ends. Go ahead.
Yeah, the way that Ting finally gets defeated is he's going to stab Dao Ma. Dao Ma like tanks it in his shoulder, spins around, and then stabs it through his own shoulder into Ting. That's a good one. That's a pretty sick way to finish off your villain.
Yeah, sure. and it's cool. Like Marty was talking about. Ting says to him, it's something like, "You don't have to run anymore, and I don't have to chase you." So it's like kind of like this kind of emotional beat that the fight lands on. Yeah, and in the meantime, you've got Ayuya, who's kind of been trying to escape from this. She's like tied up, and Xuan is on the run now. He realizes that he's not going to be the king that he wants to be, and they have kind of like this brutal fight where she ends up stabbing him with one of the feathers. So so the feathers in his like headdress, she's got 2 feathers, and what he reveals is that
this like
she gave those to him. Yeah, and it was kind of like in a moment of weakness when he was a child. So then at that moment, he promised that he would become like the greatest leader. And it turned into this twisted thing, obviously. But one of the other things that he mentions earlier in the film, I think it's to Chief Mo, is he was gonna lead the 5 factions, and he'd have a feather in his cap for every faction. So there's like a twisted way that he gets that, and she stabs him with like a set of arrows, and
it was like
his
foretold to
dying
him,
breath.
so it has this kind of like mystical, kind of like bitter irony.
Yeah.
Then as he's like realizing exactly what it means, and it's like final
Pretty
moments.
cool.
Yeah, pretty great.
In the comic, the scene plays out similarly, but the big difference is that she's a lot more like vicious, and like at one point Dalma shows up and you think he's going to help, but she yells at him, "No, I have to be the one that kills him." And so, but he says a similar thing about like I see that I have a shining crown of 5 feathers, and the feathers that are in his head are the arrows.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome.
Man.
It's pretty good.
Yeah, and that's kind of the cap on the action for the film, and you get a little bit of an epilogue.
Yeah, and sort of like a promise that like, it's a little bit of almost like a Kevin Feige, Dalma will return.
There are shades of that, yeah.
But I was for it, man.
Yeah, Ayuya is back in the village. It's not on fire anymore, and you get the sense that things are going to be okay. But at the same time, he's a guardian. He's still going to go out on his adventures. So now he has alongside him and Shao-Chi are the Shu, and even Shu's prisoner, this lady. I think they save her name reveal for the end. I forget what it was, but Shu is like, I have to go to Chang'an. There's like a strong man I must kill. And they ride off into the sunset in classic Hollywood fashion.
Yeah, totally. And I love that where they're riding is like it's like a shallow
looks
river, and
amazing.
there's
It's
growth
like a
all
marsh,
around them, kind of in comparison to all of the desert that we've seen through the movie.
Yeah.
Classic stuff.
Mm-hmm. But the cherry on top for us.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Let's say this is definitely the Heroes 3 bait credit
Dude,
sequence.
that's perfect.
Yep. So we get a fun like kind of insert shot during the credits where it's Yuen Woo-ping, Zhang Xinyan, who is the director of Shaolin Temple and Tai Chi Boxer, and the first head coach of the Beijing Wushu team, Coach Wu Bin.
Yeah.
I loved that. They're having a little back and forth, basically handing the torch to the future. And there's a moment right at the end where the innkeeper, double-headed snake, his son, I said earlier he's kind of inspired by Dalma's actions.
Yeah.
And you see at the end he hands him like a blade. And then even in this shot you see him walking through in the background. I think maybe he was on a horse, and they said like to leave it to like the next generation. It's really cool. And I love the Yuen Woo-ping with the drinking gourd. Come on, guys.
Oh, dude.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah,
Just
all is right
totally.
with the universe of this shot.
Yeah.
It's amazing. And I mean, amazing costuming and production value just for this, what amounts to like just a really adorable little cameo.
Totally.
You do kind of wish, maybe this is like way too picky, but it's kind of like an inset, like alongside the credits. You kind of, I want this to fill the screen, man. But this is great.
Of course. That's funny. And even in addition to that, there's a moment where you see the scene when they're parting ways earlier in the film. It's basically revealing that Shu is going to be Zhishilang for the finale. And they kind of leave you with like a tease of Zhishilang removing his mask. You don't see his face. But yeah, cool. I'm so
That's actually you don't see his face, but at one point in the comic it does reveal that Zhishilang has some kind of like really horrible disease because he takes off his robe and he has like these spots all over him.
Cool.
So that's like what part of his motivation is, that like he knows he doesn't have long to live, so he wants to like do as much as he can to make this rebellion happen before he dies.
That's pretty awesome. I did have a couple random things that I thought were
jump
funny.
in.
Yeah, please.
There's a moment when at the end of the first sequence where Dalma and Shao-Chi are saved by Ayuya and her troop, and I noticed that Dalma and Shao-Chi give them a thumbs up. And I know this is fake, but I was like, wait, were thumbs up a thing? So I looked into it, and it was like,
Oh,
my
yes.
like
Hell
the
yes.
history of thumbs up.
Wow.
So I didn't go too far into it, but like, so I think of like ancient Rome, right? With like the Colosseum, thumbs up, thumbs down. That actually isn't
yeah.
like proven to be a real thing.
Gotcha.
People kind of
It's
think
just
that's
something
true.
Joaquin Phoenix just does. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. In the Middle Ages, like archers have been, and this is like Wikipedia, so forgive me for not doing a whole deep dive into the history of thumbs up.
Oh man, I know a YouTube video I'm watching tomorrow.
Yeah, nice. But yeah, so it definitely doesn't go back to the Sui era, the Sui dynasty. But there was a thing that I did notice later on where Daoma and Shaoqi, I think they do rock paper scissors. And I was like, wait a second, how far back does that go? And that goes back to the Ming Dynasty.
Oh, dude, that's
Oh, really?
amazing.
Yeah, so it says that it's in a book called the Wu Zazu. There's a game, what was it called? It was called Shouxiling, which is actually almost sounds like our Jixiling.
Like Rochambeau.
Yeah, something like that. And it's a similar idea as rock, paper, scissors. And I don't know about you guys, but I am a lifelong rock, paper, scissors
yeah,
fan.
for sure.
Like, nothing gets me more hyped than just one and done rock, paper, scissors.
Yeah,
man.
Yeah.
I guess it's like a fighting game thing for me.
It's true, yeah.
But
That's funny.
yeah, I thought those were kind of some fun things to look up.
Oh, dude, love that.
That's cool.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm so glad you guys liked it. I figured you would, and I'm glad we were able to dig into this brand new movie.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I know it's cool getting to watch some genuinely really great stuff from just the last couple of years.
Yeah, completely. Yeah, I've got to say, I think in so many ways, I think Ben illustrating a lot of that today. But yeah, I feel like the movie represents a kind of return to form for a lot of folks involved here, and I've got to say I'm really impressed with it. At the same time, there was that sort of weird phenomenon, and I don't know if that just has to do with this weird sort of bias that or kind of strange set of, I don't know, contextual experiences or something that are like bringing with the movie, or if it. I got to thinking that it's like, does it have something to do with kind of just the nature of like modern digital production in general, where it's like this feeling of like, oh, do I like this? Yes, I like this. Do I like this? Yes, I like this. But I can't really explain why I never like fully surrendered the way I'm used to in a movie that I like. And I don't know if that's if that's a tree that's even worth like barking up. But yeah, curious if you guys have any kind of related experience, or if you even know what I'm like, crudely trying to kind of like scratch at here. But it's kind of an experience. I don't know. I think that is getting to be a little bit more familiar, kind of just this deep in our digital age, where it's like, yes, this is good and I like it. I'm not sure why I'm not under more of a magic spell, because I'm saying that I am, but like, but where is it? So it's like, I definitely am very, very keen on the movie, very positive towards it, and I think it really, really bodes well for kind of future productions with this kind of ambition. But yeah, I don't know. Am I making any sense at all? I feel like I'm just crazy.
Yeah, I see. I know what you're scratching at, and I want to bring something up, but I feel like that would almost turn into a whole other episode.
Okay.
So
yeah, sounds good.
Well, I mean, I'll tease it. I guess basically, I feel like we love Stephen Chow.
Yeah.
I do also feel like Stephen Chow was a big factor into folding computer effects into like Chinese cinema in a way
definitely.
that it's like it's a good thing and a bad thing. And we're also in a time where there's a new Stephen Chow film. This Kung Fu Soccer seems to be doing pretty well. I'm very curious about it. I don't know where I'll land with the film.
Yeah, similar.
But I mean, that would probably be, talking about that man again for an arc of episodes would probably be a good chance for us to explore your feelings.
Yeah, no, that's really well put.
Well, thank you so much for checking out our show. If you enjoyed it, then you can check us out on any of your social medias, your Instagram and the Blue Skies, mainly Instagram. We'll be real. If you want to leave us a review, if you like this show specifically, then you can leave us a review on whatever you're listening to this on. Spotify is the big one. Haven't got any comments in a while. Leave a comment on Spotify. It's always fun to see.
Mm-hmm.
And if you have a Chinese movie from the last 5 years that you think we would really love, we would love to hear about it. And shoot us an email at heroes3podcast@gmail.com. So, bouncing us back into the past, like Samurai Jack.
Yeah.
That's the jump to my head. What we got next, Carlos?
Yeah, our rubber band is taking us back to the year I was born,
Nice.
1982. This is a film directed by Chang Xinyan, starring Jet Li in his first role. This is Shaolin Temple.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so keeping the threads connecting between films, and I have a good time. Actually, don't have a history with this movie. I'm very excited to talk about it.
Very cool. Well, until next week, where we're taking a look at Shaolin Temple, I'm Matthew.
I'm Marty.
I'm Carlos.
And we are the Heroes 3. Remember your training. Heroes 3 is part of the Mercado Brothers Podcast Network.